It is absolutely shocking how many attractive, desirable women are probably throwing themselves at you, giving you tons of indicators that they like you and want you to talk to them or take them on a date or take them home, and you are missing the signals to your detriment clearly. You see, being a girl is hard. I know as men we think we have it tough in dating, and we kind of do, but imagine this. Imagine if you see someone you like and you are literally not allowed to go talk to them without being seen as easy or slutty or low class. That really sucks. And so women cannot go up and say, hey, I like you, let's go on a date, or at least most women won't. They show their interest in different ways, and the sad fact is men miss the signals almost every time. So in this video, I'm gonna show you the subtle signs, and sometimes not so subtle signs, that women are giving you that they like you and they want you to do something with them. Please don't miss these signs anymore. When it comes to knowing if a girl likes you, a lot of the advice you'll get is really fucking basic. Oh, she gave you a compliment? Yeah, she likes you. No shit, Sherlock, right? But there are many more subtle indicators, and in fact, a lot of the more subtle ones are more powerful, because a girl's gonna be subtle when it comes time to be like, I'd like you to take me home, or I'm ready for sex. So stick around for a couple of those advanced indicators that you probably haven't heard before that are coming towards the end of the video. For example, personal story. When I was 18 years old and first learning dating, I was coming to the end of a date with a particular girl, kind of walking her to her door, and I made a gesture like this as I was talking, and she looks at me, she's like, don't you think a handshake's a little too formal for us? i.e. kiss me, you idiot. And I was like, oh yeah, probably yeah. And I gave her a hug, left her at the door, and walked home. Stupid, right? And guys miss these kind of obvious signals all the time. So I am gonna go through the obvious ones, and then we're gonna get to the advanced ones. So the first and one of the most useful signals a girl's interested in you is proximity. If she seems to be hovering around you a lot, she might well be interested in you. Especially if you've interacted with her a little bit and she seems to not want to leave your vicinity. She seems to hang out in the conversation even when there's no reason for her to be there, even when there's nothing to really say. In fact, a lot of times when as guys we would go up and talk to a girl, what a girl does is she tries to hover around us and hope to get noticed and hope that we will talk to her. So if a girl seems to be hovering near you a lot, maybe say something. Maybe open her in some way. You might be surprised just how receptive she's gonna be. By the way, just because a girl isn't hovering around you doesn't mean it's an excuse not to go talk to her, but you can know that if she is hovering around you, it's particularly likely she likes you, particularly likely the approach will go well, and also you can get away with maybe being a little more bold or a little more confident or just a little more kind of direct in your approach than you otherwise might be able to be, because there's a higher likelihood it is going to go well and a higher likelihood she's very, very receptive. Even if a girl is not hovering around you, that's still not an excuse not to go talk to her, all right? If you like her, you should go talk to her. But if she is hovering around you, it's even more inexcusable. You definitely need to talk to that girl, because there's a very high likelihood she already likes you and is hoping and wishing that you will. So the next time you're standing at a bar and a girl just accidentally bumps into you, say something for God's sake. Just anything. The next indicator is a little less common than proximity, but perhaps even stronger when it happens, which is starting a conversation with you about literally anything. Now, they're probably not going to come right up to you and say, hey, you're hot, I want to talk to you. Again, girls don't do that. And in fact, a girl who does do that, you might question it a little bit, because that is a little socially abnormal. But what they will do is they'll come ask you for directions, or ask you what drink is good, or ask you how late the bar is open, or something along those lines. Anything to just get into a conversation with you. And in this case, they're hoping you'll take the conversation somewhere. They're hoping that when they ask what time the bar closes, you just don't go 2 a.m. and turn your back on them, right? They're hoping you're like, I don't know, it's funny, are you not from around here? You don't know the hours? And start a conversation with them along those lines. Or, wow, you seem like, you seem so fashionable, I'm surprised you don't know, I guess you don't get out much, right? Give them a hard time, tease them, start any kind of conversation, go beyond the obvious. There is one case of this that does occur a lot that doesn't necessarily indicate interest, but you should still kind of act like it does, which is when a group of girls ask you to take a photo of them. It is an indicator of interest in the sense that they probably want a photo taken, and they could have chosen a variety of people, and they chose you. So in that case, they at least think you're safe, and at least won't be weird, and maybe they like you. And you certainly should try and take that and turn it into more than just taking a photo. Don't just take the photo and end it. Ask their names, flirt a little bit, tease them about how they're taking the photo, see how the photo is, that kind of stuff. At least try and turn it into a conversation if you can, if you're interested in the girl. Even though in that case, it's probably half interested in you and half they really want the photo. One other very common one is if a girl actually asks you for a cigarette or asks you for a light when you're in like the smoking section. That can be very key because again, she could have asked any of a dozen people and she chose to ask you. So she had an excuse to go talk to somebody and she chose you. It doesn't necessarily mean she's deeply in love with you or been looking at you all night, but it means of the available options, she considered you the best one. It's at least something of an indicator of interest. And actually, it's a decent idea perhaps to carry a lighter with you, even if you don't smoke, just so that you have a conversation opener at that point, as opposed to having to tell her to leave. So now, the next time a girl's blatantly hovering around you all night, you're gonna actually talk to her, right? And the next time a girl asks you how late the bar's open, you're gonna start a conversation beyond just saying 2 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever the heck the answer is. So now guess what? You're gonna end up in a real conversation with a real girl, which is a great step. And now in that conversation, the girl's gonna continue to subtly let you know if she's interested. And this is where we get to the common indicators of interest a lot of guys talk about, which are the big three: talking, touching, leaning in. All right, we'll talk about those briefly, how you can tell from the conversation itself how it's going. First one, talking. If she continues the conversation more than necessary, she probably likes you. And by the way, this is true for girls you walk over and talk to, not just the ones who have been hovering around you at the start. It goes both ways. Once you're in a conversation, these apply. So first of all, talking. Anytime the girl is adding to the conversation more than she needs to, she is investing. She is putting in effort. She is burning calories to continue an interaction with you. You should take that as an indicator that she likes you at least on some level. Does not mean she necessarily likes you sexually yet, but it does mean that she's interested enough that she'd rather the conversation continue than not continue. Especially if there's like an awkward silence in the conversation, or the conversation might end and she goes out of her way to be like, so tell me about this. And she makes those boring small talk conversation with you to try and keep it going. That's actually a really good sign. Better yet would be if she filled it in with something more interesting or obviously more sexual or more escalated, that would be even better. But any kind of continuation of the conversation is a good sign and you should take it as such. The next one may be one of the more obvious ones, if she's touching you. If she's touching you in any way, she obviously likes you. Obviously, if she's touching you in a sexual way, that's very, very good. But a note on this one. It's not just if she's touching you, it's also if she's responsive or okay with when you touch her. And oftentimes, she won't start touching you until and unless you initiate some physical contact first. This is why when I go on a date with a girl, I try to almost always greet the girl with a hug at least, because now I've initiated physical contact, I've made it okay, and now she can feel more comfortable being physical with me. And why early on in a conversation, I may start out with casual touch that doesn't matter much, like just touching her on the shoulder, touching her on the knee, things like that just allow that physical barrier to have been crossed, so now she could do the same back. Right? So if she is okay with your touch, that's an indicator of interest. If she touches you, that's a big indicator of interest. And along the lines of touch, but not quite as much, is a different kind of physical investment, which is leaning in. If she's leaning in, getting closer to you, that's a very good sign. If she can't quite hear you and she cares enough to lean in and try and hear you, if she's willing to be in proximity to you, that's like pseudo touch. It's almost like if you have like a layer around your body that is your personal space and she has her personal space, the fact that she's willing to be in your personal space is a good sign. The fact she's willing to be close to you, it's not as good as touching you, but it's along the same lines. And why are these intra-conversation indicators of interest so important? Well, if you don't notice them, if you don't know they're happening, you won't know to take the conversation forward. You won't know to make it man to woman. You won't know to take her for a drink. You won't know to take her to the next bar. You won't know to take maybe a risk and be more flirty, right? And if you don't do those things, you end up with the platonic conversation of nowhere, you end up with nice to meet you, or maybe you end up with a flaky number when you could have taken a girl home that night and started something amazing. Now, I mentioned at the start of this video, one of the reasons it's important to notice indicators of interest is that the girl oftentimes can't flat out tell you she likes you. But these next couple indicators of interest are things she probably doesn't even know that she's doing herself because they're subconscious. And the first one of these is what we call preening gestures. A preening gesture is anything she does to fix her appearance, make herself look better, etc. Fixing her hair, fixing her makeup, like straightening her clothes out, those kinds of things. Licking her lips actually can be kind of a preening, it's like a kind of an adjusting, like the moisture level of her lips, but adjusting her appearance, adjusting her feeling around you to make herself sexier, make herself feel better, those kind of things are gestures that oftentimes do indicate interest, and they are subconscious. So if you notice a girl licking her lips a lot, that may be an indicator of interest. If you notice her fixing her hair a lot, that may be an indicator of interest. If she does like reapply her makeup, or especially reapply her lipstick, that may be an indicator of interest, and that one may actually indicate maybe, possibly, she's even thinking about a kiss. Another one people talk about a lot is a girl turning towards you and or mirroring your body language, i.e. assuming similar positions to you, and these are valid as well. I don't think they're quite as strong or as important as some of the other ones, because they oftentimes just show camaraderie. They don't show necessarily sexual interest, and by the time they're happening, you probably already kind of know that's happening. You're probably already in a conversation. But if you do notice these happening, you can put it as another checkbox. Oh yes, one more indicator. She is in fact interested. It's a nice confirmation of the other indicators you're seeing. Beyond just continuing the conversation, if a girl actually asks questions about you, that is a huge indicator for two reasons. Number one, she's curious enough about you to care about the answer. Number two, asking a question is saying, I want the conversation to continue. I want the conversation to last at least until the end of this question. So in fact, when I walk up to a girl at the start of a conversation on like a cold approach scenario, as soon as she asks me a question, I sort of mentally and almost physically take a sigh of relief and go, the hard work is done. Right? Now I'm in a conversation, now she likes me, now I can just progress it and be a cool guy. The open and the hook is accomplished, right? So once a girl asks you a question, that's a really good sign that things are going your way and that you can shift to more of a escalating things and moving it forward phase in the conversation, as opposed to just a getting her attention phase in the conversation. The indicators we've talked about so far, apart from physical touch, are good indicators that she likes you, maybe she's attracted to you, but they don't necessarily mean she's into you sexually, or she's falling for you, or she's ready to go home with you just yet. These next couple do mean that, at least in a lot of cases, and that's why they're so valuable and so useful, and actually why there's something you want to promote happening within the interaction. The first of these deeper indicators of interest is when the girl qualifies herself to you. So what do I mean when I say a girl is qualifying herself to you? Well, basically, anytime a girl is investing energy into making herself look better in your eyes, she is qualifying herself. So let's say she says something and it was fine, it made the point, and then she goes out of her way to add an extra detail, right? So she says something about her education, like, oh, by the way, I did go to college, though, I did finish it, right? She adds that extra, oh, I did finish college. She didn't need that to make the story make sense. She wanted to tell you that to look better in your eyes. When she says that, she is qualifying herself. Or when maybe she says something silly and she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't get a lot of sleep today, I'm normally, much more cool than this, or something like that. She explains why she's being lame or why she's not as cool. That is qualifying herself. Another example of qualifying herself is when she adds extra details that make her look good. For example, let's say she talks about a silly thing that happened during her college and she happens to just throw in, by the way, I went to Harvard. Right? She didn't need to throw that in. She's throwing it in to make herself look good. Now, why does qualifying herself indicate interest? Well, it's saying she's unsure of if you like her or how much you like her, and she would like you to like her more, right? So number one, she wants you to like her because she likes you. Also, she's worried you might not like her. And the type of guys who she's worried about that with are guys she sees as higher value than her. And this is very critical because typically for a girl to sleep with you, she needs to feel like you are in some way or on some level higher value than her. She needs to feel like she's gaining value by sleeping with you. If she feels like you're beneath her, she will not sleep with you. So if she's indicating she wants to qualify to you, she's indicating she cares what you think about her, and she's indicating she thinks you're higher value. Those are two absolutely key ingredients towards her wanting to have sex with you. Therefore, a girl qualifying to you is very, very useful, and therefore you would like to provoke her to qualify to you within the interaction. So now we're getting to advanced because we're not just looking for indicators, we're actually creating indicators, and we're looking for more profound indicators. Another one of these deeper, more profound indicators is when the girl falls into your frame, or to a lesser extent, if she just follows your frame. Now first, let me explain what a frame is. A frame is your view of the world or your view of the situation. So oftentimes your frame in an interaction should be that you're a high value guy, that girls are into you, that she would chase you, those kind of things. So if you're putting forth a cocky frame, or as I like to say it, a frame that if true would lead to sex, and she falls into that frame, it's not a large leap to see how she is going down the path towards potentially having sex with you, right? If you're saying we're both attractive people and she doesn't deny it, and she says, well, as attractive people, what should we do? This is a good link towards sex. So let's say you're doing a role play and I say, on our third wedding anniversary, I'm going to remind you of that, and that's going to be very embarrassing for both of us. And she goes, oh, but on our fourth wedding anniversary, I'm going to do this to you. Now she's falling into your frame that you guys are going to be married in the future. Obviously, you can see how that leads to sex, leads to a relationship, those kinds of things, okay? So following your frame, even just talking along the same topic that is the frame you'd like to be true is good. And if she falls into your frame, i.e. buys into it and becomes a part of it, that's even stronger. Okay, so far I've given you a lot of indicators of interest, and they have been specific and active, i.e. she is specifically doing something, and it's not a lack of something, it is an actual action on her part. However, the most important indicator of interest of all, like if you learn anything from this video, write this down. The most important indicator of all is she didn't leave. She didn't leave. In fact, sometimes that's the only indicator. I've had situations where a girl is giving me shit, being mean to me, but every time there's a chance for her to go home or end the night, she's always like, hey, do you want to go for one more drink? Or we should stay out a little longer, it's still early. And she's just not leaving, right? Trust her actions more than her words. In particular, if you are doing your job within the interaction and you are making the interaction man to woman, and you are flirting and you are initiating physical contact and she's not leaving, she is saying she is comfortable being around a guy who is being man to woman, flirting and initiating physical contact. If she's going to be comfortable with that and continue being comfortable with that as you continue to do more and more and more of that, we all know where that is going to lead. Okay? So girls are very good at rejecting guys if they need to. Girls are very good at getting out of situations they don't want to be in. Girls are very good at having something in the morning and needing to go home or having an excuse not to meet you. If she simply is there while you are being a flirty, cocky, man-to-woman dude, that is a very good indicator she likes you. So by now you have a pretty good idea of how to tell if a girl's interested in you, but I want to make one more point, and this is maybe the most important point of the whole video, which is this. If you're not seeing indicators of interest, that's not an indicator to not take action. I know that's a lot of negatives, but here's what I mean. Okay? These are great when you see them, but if you don't have them, you should still take action. If there's a girl you're interested in and she hasn't looked at you or hasn't smiled at you yet, you still should go approach her. Or if you're talking to a girl and she hasn't made it physical with you yet, you absolutely should make it physical with her, okay? So these are nice when they exist. They're good indicators of when to take things forward, but do not let a lack of indicators of interest hold you back or keep you from taking action. Remember, one of the biggest indicators is that she simply hasn't left. And since we are going to take action now, right? Since we're going to do that, you're going to want to do it the right way, which means you're going to want to know what to say to the girl and how to do it. So here's an example in this video of me escalating, moving a conversation forward in a smooth and correct way with an example with a real girl. So check that out right now.